Hey there, beautiful soul. Welcome to Cultivate Your Joyful Life, where we believe true fulfillment blooms from within. I'm Emily Liu, your certified life coach, and I'm on a mission to help you create a life you freaking love. In a world where we constantly juggle priorities from career to parenting, relationships to health, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or not enough. But don't worry, in this corner of the universe, I'm here to share practical tips and inspiration to help you access your inner joy right now. So, grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's cultivate your joyful life together. Here we go. Hello, friend. Welcome back to another episode. I want to talk about job loss because whether you've been affected by a job loss or you're worried about losing your job or you know somebody who has lost their job, I think today's episode is just so important with the way the market has been for the past 4 years. Ever since the Great Resignation, there's been so much change in the market, and we all know somebody who's been laid off, or perhaps we've been laid off ourselves. And job loss is one of the most traumatic events that could happen in an adult life because so many of us put our whole livelihood into our jobs and our careers. It's where we get the most safety, and sometimes we are the person in the family that others depend on. And so it can be very stressful and scary to lose a job. I'm not going to talk about how to support somebody if they've lost a job. I think that deserves its own episode. But whether or not you've lost a job or you're thinking you're going to lose your job, this episode is just going to be really helpful if you're just an overall anxious and fearful person, like you let anxiety and fear in the driver's seat. What I'm sharing with you today is going to help you overcome that and really be able to navigate through it. Before we dive in, I also just want to share a quick life update, what I've been up to lately. I have been loving spending time with one-on-one coaching. I have a lot of clients that actually came from my Happily Hired Formula program that have asked, can you life coach me? And we are in this fun container where I'm helping them beyond just job search goals or career goals, but really helping them tap back into relationships, confidence. I have somebody who is learning how to speak up again. I'm helping someone who wants to start a business, actually 2 people who want to start their own side hustle / business. And so it's just a really fun time for me on these calls because I love peeling back the layers of understanding, like, what does this person really want and what's really holding them back, and how do we bridge that so that they can get out of their own way and start moving into their fullest potential and doing it in a way that is filled with more ease and flow. Like, I'm huge on that feminine energy of just allowing things to be and to receive and moving into surrender and acceptance so that it's not the same as resignation where you completely give up. It's just allowing for things to come and unfolding and trusting the process so that something even better can appear. I've also been doing more group coaching calls inside of the Happily Hired Formula program, and I love doing that because what we do is hot seat breakthrough coaching, and a lot of the job seekers come with this like very surface level, I just need this tactic or strategy advice. But in our session, as we're talking through their challenge, they get to something even deeper that is really holding themselves back. I always say if it was that easy, everybody would be living their biggest, fullest, most abundant lives. But oftentimes we need a coach to help us navigate what we don't know. We're only aware of 10%. There's a whole 90% underneath that iceberg that we are just not aware of. And until it becomes conscious, it stays unconscious or subconscious. So anyways, all that to say is I've been geeking out on life coaching. Just really love it. To me, it's been the most transformative growth experience for my own life. And I'm just so blessed to be able to help others actualize their goals and their dreams. And I'm a huge believer of that. Whatever you want, whatever you can see, if you can believe it, then you can achieve it. So that's an Oprah quote. If you can see it and you believe it, then you can achieve it. I live by that. And I've been able to prove to myself that this is true. And so much of it is just getting out of our own way so that we can start to take the action to build the life towards alignment. Finally, I think the last thing that's been on my mind lately is our 3-day live boot camp. We've been talking about it all month long, but we officially kick off this Tuesday, tomorrow, for a training. So very, very excited. I've poured a lot of heart and soul into this because there's so many ways to land a dream job. And I want to go over like all the different things that you need to think about from a mindset and strategy perspective. But I don't want to do it in a way where I think a lot of career coaches say, like, this is the only way or this is the best way. And I get it. They have to market their solution or their product or their service. But truly, my clients are proof that there's so many paths to get to the same destination. And so I really want to bring in a more holistic approach to finding what works for you based on your personality, based on your market, based on your background, based on your skills. What is going to work best for you? And so if you need help with your job search, your goal is to land a new external job, by all means, join us. I'll link it in the bio, or you can go to cultivate.com/bootcamp and RSVP. Again, we're starting on June 25th. And then at the end of this episode, I'll be back to talk about the Happily Hired Formula because that officially opens for enrollment on July 1st. That is my popular group coaching program. It's actually rated as one of the top career coaching programs for job searching. And if you are interested in learning more about it, I'll share more at the end with a special promo as well. All right. That being said, let's dig into job loss and how to cope with it and the anxiety and the fear that comes along with it. So first, I'm going to start with talking about if you're currently employed, what you can do about this. And then I'll move into, okay, what if the job loss is real? You've been impacted. How can we work through this? So first things first is I want to address, like, if you've been constantly worrying that you are losing your job, you're going to lose your job, but you're currently employed. This is where I want to talk to you about what anxiety is. I have a lot of clients that come to me overly anxious and they start to hypothesize or future cast a situation that's not even yet happened, but it's just like a future outcome, potential future outcome. And they end up catastrophizing a future outcome based on that. So this is what I like to call the then what. So if I lose my job, then I'll become homeless. I'll lose my friends. I'll lose connection with my family. I'll be disgraced. Then and as you can see, our minds will just take over with all of these infinite questions and infinite scenarios that just whoosh, like we just went from 0 to 100 in worrying. And yet nothing has really changed or been told to us that this is what is happening. I know someone personally who is always worried that he's going to get laid off. He's been talking about the market going to crash and the economy is going to tank, and he's worried that he's going to lose his job. And it's been 6 years that he's been worrying about this, and yet it hasn't happened. And so, it's so funny and ironic because all of that time spent worrying about losing your job, it's actually going to make you perform less at work. It's because you're so preoccupied with the thought of, oh my God, and what if I get laid off? And what if I have to find another job? What if I have to? And again, all that catastrophizing is taking us away from the present moment of actually doing a good job. And therefore, the chances are that you may actually be more likely to lose your job because you're just not fully present in doing the job. So I want to say our subconscious mind doesn't care if we're happy. Our subconscious mind just wants to try to keep us safe. That's what it's hardwired for. So our anxiousness that comes from our subconscious trying to keep us safe is really good at creating problems. It's also really good at solving them, right? Like if I get laid off, then what? Well, then I need to go file unemployment. And then I will try to save as much as I can and stop splurging. And I'll start to meal plan and I'll go out less. We're going to like start to find solutions to solve the problem that our mind creates. But what happens when none of these scenarios are factual and it's not actually happened is it makes us overwhelmed and we kind of go crazy. The word like needless suffering comes up. We just start to needlessly suffer because we're trying to navigate all of these variables that haven't yet occurred. And so our mind is just working in overtime, trying to figure out all these solutions to all these hypotheticals. And I think that's the most important part of all of this is to recognize that your mind is always going to find solutions. But when it becomes a problem is when all of these solutions are hypotheticals or all these problems are made up. Because it's great to know that our minds can go there, but it just takes up so much unnecessary power and energy and mental capacity and emotional capacity. So what I want you to go to if you are an overly anxious person or you're constantly over worrying or you're constantly overthinking or feeling overwhelmed is just to come back into the present moment. So anytime you're feeling anxious about uncertainty, this is where the practice around mindfulness can be so beautiful. Coming back to the present moment and even reflecting on the past can be really helpful in these instances where you think about a problem that you had in the past that seemed so insurmountable that you were able to conquer and reminding yourself of what you did then that made you become successful. So then you can start to put in past experiences that prove like, okay, at the end of the day, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still standing. I was able to overcome that. I can certainly overcome any other challenges that come my way when it happens. We're going to cross that bridge when we arrive at the bridge, but we're not going to make up a dozen false bridges and try to figure out how to cross each one because we just don't have enough information to even be able to problem solve effectively. And then the next piece to this is I also want you to think about whether or not being laid off is actually the worst thing that's going to happen. Because our mind is going to go there. Our mind is going to go to what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst thing that's going to happen out of this? And again, it's going to be a beautiful creative catastrophizer. And it'll go down the worst case scenario of being unemployed, not having a roof over your head, having nothing to eat, and so forth. But what our mind doesn't jump to is what is the best thing that can happen? And I have so many job seekers in my programs that will tell you, in hindsight, I'm actually really grateful for that layoff because it was the catalyst to push me to the new path that I need to be on. I have a client, Christina, who was so fearful when she got laid off. She thought this was her dream job. This is going to be the place that she retired at. Everything was so chill and smooth. And then all of a sudden she got laid off with the rest of her department. And it was really, really hard for her for a few months. She had to process it. It took her time to really grieve that job because she loved it so much. But what happened was another greater opportunity came along. She loves the new environment she's in, and what she's working on is a new product she would have never even, she didn't even know was available / in existence. And it's just something that she's become so passionate about, and she's so connected to the work that she's doing. And it gave her a higher salary. So all of it is a big win-win across the board. And she's grateful that that happened now in hindsight. Being on the other end, she can say, oh, wow, I would have never left my last place and had this opportunity. But because I was forced out or pushed out in many ways, I opened myself up to this new door. So I just really want to give you the reminder to never assume that change is bad. I think that's where our mind normally goes to, like, oh, change is scary, change is bad. And even personally, in January, I had to make a really difficult decision in my business to let two of my high performers go. There was nothing wrong with them as employees. They were actually really wonderful and great. It just wasn't in alignment with where I was in terms of scaling the business. I was often the bottleneck in what they were doing. They were giving me so much great strategy and advice, and they were checking off all their to-do lists. And there was a part of me that was just like, I need a pause. I need to take a break in what I'm churning out because I'm out of alignment and I want to get intentional, and intention takes time. So I made the really difficult decision to let two amazing employees go. And before I came to that conclusion, I was in my head about, oh my God, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I'm so afraid to deliver this bad news. And thankfully, I had a coach at the time who gave me perspective and just really challenged me on that assumption. She was like, Emily, who's to say this is bad news? What if this is exactly what they need? What if I don't know, maybe you are the best boss, but like, what if there's something even greater for them out there? What if they're dying to like leave your company deep down inside? And it just really helped me put things into perspective that what we often view as bad or negative is just an opinion and sometimes an assumption, but it may not be that bad or negative. It may actually just be the blessing in disguise that they need, or the best thing to happen to them on the other side. All right, so just to recap, if you are finding yourself in over anxiousness, get back into the present. Get back into that present moment. And if anything, look at your past for proof of times when you were able to come out unscathed on the other side, or even stronger than what you started with. And then 2, question and really challenge any assumptions that the worst is going to happen or that change is bad, and start to flip the coin on both of those. What's the best thing that's going to happen? What if this change is actually a blessing or the thing that I need, or positive news? What would that look like? How would that reduce my anxiety? Now, if you actually did lose your job, first and foremost, I want to acknowledge you and really validate whatever you're feeling. I personally know with mass layoffs, it's a sudden change. Any type of position being eliminated is a sudden change. And with sudden change comes a very stressful transition, right? Especially if we're counting on that paycheck or we're counting on that stability. All of a sudden, we're in a state of mind where, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? And then panic sets off. And am I going to be able to afford rent? Like, that is all very, very stressful, especially with the cost of living today. I do not want to undermine how you're feeling and the severity of that stress. So, what I have to say to this, though, is it's important to get perspective. In that moment, when you're told that you've lost your job, it may feel like the end of the world. It really does. Like, sometimes you won't even have any words to say because you're just so frozen in processing that what your mind is interpreting as catastrophic news. But I'm going to remind you that it's not the end of the world. It's the end of this chapter. So I'm going to say that again because I think it's really important. It's not the end of the world. It's just the end of this chapter. So in these moments, it's very, very, very important to zoom out and not let the emotions overtake you. It's important to feel the emotions because emotions are energy in motion. They want to come out. They want to be released. They don't want to be suppressed. And really just allow yourself to express those emotions so you're not stuffing it and suppressing it and all of a sudden exploding one day. Like, really allow yourself to grieve that process. Allow yourself to feel that fear, feel that anger, feel that frustration. Emotions will subside. If you look at any toddler, they're the perfect example of a huge outburst, a huge, like, flailing on the ground, screaming their head off. Life is over. They took my toy. I can't deal. Oh my God, I'm so angry, so mad. And what happens is after they have their tantrum, they just go back to playing with the kid that took their toy and they completely forget about it. So emotions are here to be released. And I also want to make sure that you're never making any choices from an emotional state, because then that would be a reaction versus a response. Anytime you have emotions coming up, it's okay to tell the other person, gosh, thanks for giving me this news. Truthfully, I need to take some time to process this. By when do you need me to come back to you with an answer or a response? It's okay to let them know, like, I don't want to sign anything in this emotional state right now. And just really allow yourself to feel what you need to do and to regulate yourself. Have that experience of that emotional release and just know that the emotion is not you. I think a lot of people are worried about feeling their emotions because they think that they're not able to come out of it. But I promise you, you are able to. So don't suppress it. Really, the best and healthiest thing you can do is release it in your own quiet space, however that looks like for you, and come back when you're regulated to make a response, to have a conversation from that place. The second thing that I want to share is if you've been over identifying with your job, then this is going to be really challenging for you because you're going to feel like you've lost an identity. I think it's really important. This is why I talk so much on LinkedIn about how you are more than just a career. You're more than just a job. You're more than just an account manager, whatever title you are. I just want to make sure you know that you are valuable and worthy just for being here on this planet. So your job, your title, your employment status doesn't define you. And the question that you need to ask yourself is, who else am I outside of being a lawyer, being a sales manager? There's so many parts of you, whether it's, you're that funny friend, you're that performer, you're that artist, you're that creative person, you're that mom, that dad, that sister, that brother, that daughter, that son, whatever you identify with. It's important to recognize that that is you and the job is not you. So again, if you've over identified with your job, of course the job loss is going to be the worst thing to happen because you're losing your entire identity. So you got to get back to, well, who am I aside from this title? Even in this title, who am I? So going back to the sales manager, you're a relationship builder. You're the connector. You're the leader. There's so many qualities and characteristics and innate gifts and strengths that we still are, regardless if we are currently employed or attached to a certain title or company. All right, the third tip I have for you is to make sure you get back in alignment with your values. What do you value and how do you live and honor your values each day? A lot of times, anytime we have any kind of loss, the natural tendency for us is to numb ourselves or distract ourselves. Sometimes that numbing and that distraction is a temporary relief, but it's the thing that takes us further away from our values. So I want you to understand what your values are and see, how can I live in accordance to these? How can I honor this in my period of job loss or transition? Because when I know I'm living within my values, that is when I'm having a valuable life. If you want to really get a sense of what your true values are today, just take a look at how you live your day to day. As one of my master coaches, Alexi, was saying, how If you just ask anybody what they value, it's easy. Just take a look at what they do because nobody will admit that they value screen time or phone time, but yet they're scrolling half the day on their free time on social media. They value social media without saying, I value social media. They instead say, I value family, I value freedom, I value adventure. They're actually not doing any of these things because their truest value right now, subconsciously or unconsciously, is social media because that's where they're spending and giving their time and energy and money towards. So think about that as well. What do you value? Because if you don't value addiction or you don't value gaming, but you're spending 12 hours a day on whatever addiction or gaming, well, maybe you do value that in this moment and at least get honest with it, right? But chances are, I don't think that's what you value. I think it's a coping strategy that so many of us turn to whenever we feel like we don't want to experience the feelings or we just want to distract and numb. To piggyback off of that, my fourth tip is to make sure that you stay in a daily routine. I think when you're in a workplace, you have very specific structure, and that structure and that schedule is good because sometimes we do need a regiment to keep us moving. And again, when we are at a job loss, sometimes it's easier to just want to distract, to numb, to not have a very clear agenda or schedule. So what we do just feels really nebulous, and we start to then question, are we doing enough? Are we working enough? Now, I'm a big fan of not job searching 40 hours a week. I personally don't think it's feasible. And I think what's really important is to make sure that during this time, you're still feeling like you're contributing, that you're still learning, that you're still growing. And so this is the time more than ever when you need community, you need connection, you need self-care in these difficult periods of time. So in addition to scheduling your job search activities, what I would really love to see is what is your ideal week? You are the boss of yourself right now. Your job is to get a job. You are the CEO of your own company. So what does that look like? In my own company, personally, I don't take any calls before 9 a.m. I'd like it for it to be 10 a.m., but sometimes I just have some non-negotiables where I need to be on the call at 9. But my ideal morning is a slow morning. Like I would love to wake up at 7:30, shower, get ready, do some yoga, drink my coffee, read a book, and then 10 a.m., take my first call, take my first meeting, check my first email, and so build out your ideal schedule and stick to a routine. What you don't want is to, I don't know, like self-loathe all day and, roll out of bed at 11 a.m. and like not brush your teeth, not get showered and changed because that sets the mood for the rest of the day. And if you get just imagine you get a surprise interview. Are you ready to just be like, yes, I want to jump on that call or that Zoom interview right now? You got to take care of yourself and just pretend and dress as if you're going into the office every day and create a structure, a routine to contain what you need to do and inject feminine energy into it. So don't be all masculine and all I need to do is just job search 24/7. What I want you to do is, okay, this activity is really draining for me. So before and after this, I'm going to schedule in a walk. I'm going to schedule in just a time block, 3 hours of creativity or play or volunteer or reaching out, connection, lunch with a friend. You don't have to get so rigid and structured, but having some idea of what each day is going to look like and what goal you want to tackle each day is going to be immensely helpful during this time period. The next thing I want to really help you get perspective on is making sure that you're taking away the lesson that you need to learn through every hardship and challenge. So, what I mean by this is is there something that you could learn from this opportunity? You really to look at how can I make sure that if this happens again, I'm not frantic and having the same feelings again. So, what this can mean is if right now you're coming at a place of like, oh no, I lost my job and I have no idea where my rent is coming from next month. This is a really great slap in the face, if you will, of saying, okay, where can I start saving more? Where am I excessively spending that I don't need to excessively spend anymore? Where can I earn more income? Where can I find a job that is going to pay me what I need to live and save at the same time? Or maybe it's how do I create a side hustle so that I'm not reliant on just one stream of income? So there's a lot of growth opportunity that often these challenges give us so that we are safeguarding ourselves from if the same thing happens again, we are at an advantage. We're not in the same position as before. And also, really taking a look at the current job. Sometimes you do an amazing job at work and there's nothing else that happened other than there was a restructure that the company lost its biggest client and they had to let go of the team because they can't afford the payroll anymore. There are other times where maybe if you're looking at yourself objectively or you're looking at the feedback, there's room for growth or opportunity. Maybe you're realizing that you're not upskilling enough, that you keep getting these tasks given to you and you're not doing a really great job at it. And so it keeps going to somebody else. Or maybe you're asking for feedback and not taking it well, or you're not asking for feedback at all. Maybe you're not advocating for yourself or you're not caring for yourself enough. So really take a look at, if I could go back to that time period, what would I have done differently, if anything? And allow that to also be a growth lesson and challenge to keep evolving and growing from there. All right. And finally, I know this one is easier said than done. You're going to hate what I'm about to say, but I truly believe that when one door closes, another door opens. And we can't fully understand it and comprehend it and see it. It's definitely easier said than done, but trusting that there's a path that's unfolding for you, to me, is one of the most liberating and calming places to approach your job search from. If you really believe that it's this or something better, that the universe, God, Allah, Buddha, whoever you believe in, isn't putting me on this planet so that they can watch me suffer. It's truly supportive in believing in something other than yourself during these time periods when you can't really see the full outcomes and the certainty around you. So if you have a spiritual practice or you're religious, this might be the time when you really need to tap into that more. I think a lot of times we are so practical and we're so analytical and we're trying to logic our way through everything. But I truly believe that there are just some things that happen in life that are unexplainable, indescribable. And that is where quote unquote miracles or serendipity or synchronicity or magical moments occur and happen, or even luck. You have a lot of people that you're like, wow, they're just so lucky, or wow, like they're so fortunate, or how did they get that? That's such good karma. Whatever that is, I don't believe in 100% luck in the sense that I think there's a lot of preparation that is involved, but with the right intention, with the right vision, and some trust behind the process, I really believe that's where the magic is, because there are some times when things just fall into your lap. You can't explain it. It came out of nowhere. You didn't expect it, but it showed up. And those are the moments that I think happen a lot in a job search or finding opportunities or that chance connection, that chance opportunity. So really just trusting in that and giving up some of the control. That's really hard for a lot of people, myself included. I feel like you want to control everything, but truly there's only so much that you can control. And there's so much that is so out of control. Anytime I need a reminder of this, I always think about the weekend trips that I plan. And I'm like, we're going to do a beautiful picnic. And then all of a sudden there's rain. And it's like the only rainy day out of the 365 days in Arizona. And I'm like, okay, ha ha ha. Thank you, universe, for reminding me that things are not always in my control, but we can just trust the process. So those are my tips for you. I hope you found that helpful. And if you need support with your job search, by the way, the Happily Hired Formula program is opening on July 1st. This is my most popular group coaching program where myself, along with 6 incredible certified life and career coaches with ex-recruiter and leadership backgrounds, are going to guide you step by step through landing that dream job. I always tell people, like, this isn't the greatest sales line, but it's true. And so I'm just going to share it. I don't really care about your next job. Like, I do in the sense that I know I want to help you get there as quickly and easily as possible. But what I care more about is you figure out how to become resilient. You figure out how to master the skills so that no matter what happens down the road, like you even get your dream job and 3 months later they have to let you go because, layoffs happen, restructures happen, change in leadership happen. You're not fazed by it. You're just like, okay, where do we go from here? I'm not panicked because I know how to job search and I believe in myself. I trust myself. I trust that I am able to become resilient and tap into my resiliency and go for an aligned opportunity. Because again, when one door closes, another one opens. So in our program, we do walk you through all the tactics, all the strategies. Here's how to stand out. Here's how to get visible. Here's how to write a resume and a LinkedIn and get clarity and negotiate and interview and network. But what we also focus on is the programming, why you feel like you're not a good candidate, why you feel you can't beat out that other candidate, why you feel imposter syndrome, why you feel like you have to be a perfectionist, why you feel like you're burned out all the time. Because when you can heal those parts of you, the dream job is the byproduct. I always say a dream job is an inside job. If you think you're a C candidate, you're going to get an average job. If you think you're an A candidate, you're going to get an incredible job. And so getting into alignment is really the most important thing. What do you truly want? What's blocking you? Okay, from here, how do we get you to where you want to be? And the job offer is just a natural byproduct of doing all of that. And it just becomes more easy and in flow. So anyways, if you want to learn about Happily Hired Formula, the doors are opening July 1st. And if you join the waitlist, we're giving you a big discount, bigger than anywhere else that's going to be advertised. So be sure to join cultivate.com/waitlist and you'll get a special link to join and learn more about the program. And if you have any questions, you can always email me as well. I'll include the sales page so you can learn more about Happily Hired Formula and the 6-month group coaching program and why people love it. And you can read all the testimonials inside. All right. Until then, I hope you continue to cultivate your joyful life. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed it and you're not following me on social media already, come follow me and join the conversation on our latest post. I'm over at Cultivate, or you can visit our website, cultivate.com, and learn more. And don't forget to hit subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss another episode. I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Have a joyful day.